Hello and welcome to the latest edition of AI for Business podcast series brought to you by Machine Commons Consulting. I'm Steve Sheppard and I'm joined by Alex Carruthers.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Today we're going to talk a little bit more about the Machine Commons Collective, how we utilise this broad range of organisations to help deliver AI success.
The Machine Commons is a decentralized consultancy. We are a collective of over 85 suppliers all around the world with no real binding theme outside machine learning. And machine learning is the technology that underpins much of artificial intelligence, so software that learns as opposed to it being explicitly coded. The collective on the supply side is for suppliers who are engineer first, boutique consultancies or boutique specialist providers, as you might prefer to think of them, often having very specific outputs, really specific skills, and some of them being more generic software advisors. The Machine Commons brings together all of these different specialist providers in the hope of creating a halo brand that both organizes all of the different functions of the collective and offers clients a way of navigating an otherwise incredibly complex market.
I think the interesting thing about that is just sort of recognizing the diversity behind AI and sort of the complexity of how many different ways you can actually apply AI. We've talked about it in previous podcasts about the various aspects of AI, whether it's natural language processing, computer vision, predictive algorithms, and so on. What the diversity we found across the 85 plus organizations is that you can have specialists in lots of different fields that are really good at delivering the application of AI in manufacturing or in pharmaceuticals or a chat solution. It's having those specialists available to really deliver optimum solutions. And that's the breadth of what the collective does. It allows us to connect our clients with the right skill set, the right platforms and solutions to give them a solution for what might be a unique problem within their space.
This possibly ladders up to the core benefit of the collective. If you take any one boutique supplier, they may have between 10 and 20 clients and up to 50 at best case studies. When you have a collective of 85 different businesses, you have hundreds, if not thousands, of case studies to act as a library to be able to draw upon. And across this huge network, there's almost certainly going to be something one of them somewhere has worked on, which is an identical representation or an identical problem to whatever capability that your business is looking to achieve or whatever problem that you're trying to solve. So I think in general, how does a client take advantage of the collective? Typically, it's in what we call a capability request. And a capability request is a generic hand up on the client side of an expression of interest. Hey, we're looking for automations in the financial world. Hey, we're looking for ways of improving our business intelligence functions. We're looking at catching some kind of defect in the manufacturing space. What kind of experience do you guys have in your collective? And I think herein lies the greatest advantage from a client's perspective is this is one email, one conversation, not 85 different emails. And I think over the time of just general interactions with suppliers, from the onboarding phase to the gathering of case studies to the talking with suppliers intimately about their various capabilities or challenges that they've solved, we've built up an in-house knowledge of what different suppliers are good at. And when you're dealing with boutiques, we know that clients want to hear, hey, we've solved this exact problem before, several times ideally, and by representing a boutique network, we know already, before any specific brief has been submitted, who's kind of good at what.
So it's really about connecting clients to the right solution provider. The other thing you mentioned there was the MCC side of things as well. And, we recognize that clients sometimes don't know what's possible with AI and intelligent tech. And equally, they might have an idea, but they don't really know how to frame that as a requirement into a brief that would find them the right provider. So that's something very much that we can help the client with, of understanding what's possible and then defining a set perhaps of opportunities for them that we can then turn into briefs and engage the collective and come up with the right partner for them to deliver what hopefully will be a unique and differentiating solution that will work particularly well for that individual client.
We do try to summarize everything beneath 5 verticals. We categorize things by e-commerce and marketing, so the 4Ps, as well as anything kind of online, any kind of e-commerce. Business intelligence, so anything to do with predictions, any kind of informational advantage that a business can derive to help them make better decisions. Manufacturing and primary industries, so this is heavy industry stuff, machines breaking down, predictive maintenance, and that kind of thing. Healthcare and pharmaceutical, which is as the name describes, and professional services, so things like the financial industry or the legal industry when it comes to document processing and invoice generating, algorithmic trading, and anything that falls beneath, well, finance and legal services.
Although, different sectors have slightly different problems, there's a certain amount of commonality across them in terms of how solutions can meet that particular need. And hence we've seen that, members of the collective have taken a capability that they've developed in one area and made it work in other sectors to solve a similar problem, but having proven capability in each of those different spaces.
One of the areas of interest that we've dealt with was actually for AstraZeneca, which was in the form of a listening capability. So, and we're finding lots of these kind of inquiries coming up at the moment, where clients want to understand a lot about the world and to try and factor in as much external information into their internal decision-making processes as possible. So things like social, really obvious, but perhaps less obvious is, for example, if you're trying to influence a doctor's opinion of a molecule, would be to understand what they're writing about, what they actually think about different molecules, who they're writing with, what that network graph looks like across the industry, who they're connected with, so that you might be able to nudge different opinions of their colleagues, which people they're tagging on social media, which topics they tend to talk about, to give your sales team thought starters as to how to bring up conversation with these people. So that's a really interesting one. Another that comes off the top of my head is to do with fraud. So many old world businesses, and we found this case, I think this was in Spain, but we've had a very similar case in India as well, where there's a lot of untracked, not huge digital infrastructures in these places, and a lot of offline and very small privately owned or family owned businesses in the thousands across the country. One was for newspaper fraud in India, and one was for pharmaceutical reselling. And in both cases, the suppliers were able to simulate the expected sales from across the entire country using just raw statistics in a way. And then when there were anomalistic behaviors or anomalistic patterns, their system was able to zone in on this. And this is a great example of a piece of mathematically based software plugging into your existing data, exploring everything that you've got access to in your business, and coming to some real actionable guidance. So something that actively red flags organizations for fraud, for example, or pricing fraud, undercutting regional sales areas, or something like this.
What came to my mind while you were talking through there is just the value that is in data. And, whether that's data that an organization holds or its products generate, or how do you connect that data to other data that's, perhaps cloud accessible, environmental data, or whatever other type of data there, and extract that to generate real value. And that's really one of the strengths of AI, that ability to process data in volume and to find patterns and to get value out of it. And something very much we recommend our clients is to look at what data they have and how can they extract and use that data to construct some real business value that will help them in their growth and differentiation from others, which I think is quite key.
Yeah, it's funny. I think data is the new oil is a term that gets bandied around. But in one of our case studies, data, in fact, saved oil. And we're talking about a fuel consumption optimization challenge. And this is where, again, making use of data, you're able to optimize routes taken across fleets of hundreds, if not thousands of trucks, for example, to over an entire year make route adjustments or driver guidance adjustments to massively save on fuel and of course cost.
Yeah, and as you say, becoming even more important now given the cost of fuel, and anything we can do to both from an environmental perspective and ultimately from a cost perspective in given the very high price of fuel at the moment, then that's a good thing. Thank you everybody for joining us. That's it for this podcast. We hope you found it interesting. We provided a few links with this video to help get you to more information about the collective and about how to engage us. Please feel free to get in touch, whether that's in regard to this video or making suggestions on what we could talk about in future podcasts. We hope everything's good with you. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.